Welcome to episode 23 of Uncontained. I'm your host, Aaron Static Render, and on the show today we have a comedian out of Los Angeles, California, who performs regularly at the Hollywood Improv, the Hollywood Laugh Factory, and the world-famous Comedy Store, Cory Polster. In this episode, we talk about how Cory got into comedy, what Cory's had to give up, and what he's put comedy in front of in order to get to where he's at, and some great advice on dominating bringer shows. But first, I got a little clip for you of Cory Polster from a set he did recently in San Diego. Then we'll jump into episode 23 of Uncontained with Cory Polster.
Yeah, so apparently everyone's racist again. You guys notice this? Like, you turn on the TV and everyone is, like me, I'm not racist, okay? I don't judge people by how they look or how they sound. I'm not afraid of somebody because they're different, except for Russians. No, because hear me out, because Russians are fucking crazy. You know what the scariest thing you can hear in a dark alley is? What seems to be formal. Because Russians aren't like other people, you know? You fucking step on an Italian guy, she's like, hey, what the fuck's your problem? Russians, they don't show any emotion. They'll be like, here, that's it, let's discuss issue like men. Back massage and shit. Turn around and get a fucking machete. Russians, great at murder, terrible at advice. You want some bad advice? Get into an Uber with a Russian driver. I got into an Uber with a Russian driver, and I had just gotten in a fight with my girl at the time. So I get in, I'm all flustered, and that's when I hear, well, it seems to be full. But announce yourself. So I tell him, I don't want to die. So now, I think my girl wants to see other people. I think we're done. And I'm not even joking. This is what he said. He goes, it's okay. You know, what goes around happens again sometimes. Listen, I wasn't born tomorrow, I know this, okay? You can lead the horse to water, but this does not make it seahorse. Like, what? Now you're just making shit up. I know who's responsible for all this shit, by the way. All the racism in America. You guys know who I'm thinking of, right? You guys know who I'm thinking of, right? Say it with me. Maury Pitpovich. Oh,
How's it going, Cory?
Oh, it's going great, man. How you doing, Aaron?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. It was quite the challenge to get this interview up and running because of technical difficulties and all that stuff, but we fought through it. So did I miss anything in the intro? Could you let the Uncontained listeners know a little something about yourself?
I think you pretty much nailed it. I've performed all throughout the country. I've been doing comedy for, oh my God, since I was 17. So I'm terrible at math. That's why I'm a comedian. So I'm 34 now. So from when I started from 17 to 34, we'll let the calculators out there do the math there.
You've been doing it like this many years,
yes,
right?
yeah, this many. So yeah, yeah, so a long time, and it hasn't been easy. But other than that, I didn't start here. I moved here when I was 20. I got in a lot of heat with my grandmother and my parents. I'm Catholic, and I got accepted to some colleges and refused to go. And decided, like, after I won a couple competitions, that I was going to LA. And once I got down here, as parents and grandparents do, they ended up funding it because they weren't going to let me, live in the streets. But it was the best decision I ever made.
Where did you move from?
Sacramento, California. And I started doing comedy in Sacramento and the Bay. And what I did was, just so you know, I took a class, and we'll get into my very first show if you want to in a second. But
yeah, of course.
I took a class thinking, first of all, there is no book, there is no class, there's no way you can learn to be a comedian other than being funny and getting on stage. That's how it works. There's no shortcut. Like, Louis C.K. Will tell you he was awful forever. And then you just keep getting up there and you just learn how to be. And Jay Leno has one of the greatest quotes ever about stand up comedy. He says, "You will be the best comedian you will possibly ever be when you become who you are off stage, on stage," which means
Oh, wow.
when you become Aaron in the living room getting your friends weak on stage and not like when you first start doing comedy. Okay, hey, how you guys doing? I just flew in from Detroit. Boy, my arms are tired. Where you're like you're doing your impersonation of what a comedian looks like, but it's not you. It's not who, you know what I mean? It's like it's inauthentic and it's contrived. But when you do it long enough, and I'm sure if you've watched enough, not a lot of people support enough live comedy, but they should. The problem is they think by just watching Netflix specials or Comedy Central, it's not the same. It's like if I told you I saw Michael Jackson's 50th anniversary special, but then I told you I saw Michael Jackson live in like 1983 after Thriller came out, like there would
Big
be a
difference.
huge
Big
difference. Yeah,
difference.
and that might be a bad a person to use right now after what he's going through. But
It's still, there's nothing taking away like from what he did
I
in the
agree.
past as far as like what he's achieved. Yeah, he turned into one weird man,
Yes, yes.
but he was the king of pop and
Oh yeah.
kind of still is even after dying.
Well, it's funny. I met my best friend. I'm a huge San Francisco Giants fan, and he's a huge Dodgers fan. I'm a huge MJ fan. He's a huge Prince fan. And even though we're best friends, we used to have this argument, and we finally came to the conclusion. Look, Mike was singing since he was 5, and he was the greatest entertainer and is a singer. But you know what? When it came to a musician, Prince has it. Like Prince would grab an instrument from whoever was playing it and then play it better than them. Like,
Yeah, he could play something like 27
yeah.
instruments, I think
Oh,
the number was. I could be making that
I
number
bet if
up,
you
but
gave him
it's
enough time, he
around
would play
that.
more. Yeah, he'd
Yeah.
play the oboe. He would play like he would like go to like Australia and like learn how to play those instruments that uh, I forgot what is it called, those that the Aborigines play, that a didgeridoo.
Yes,
Like
the
yeah,
didgeridoo.
he would probably play a didgeridoo better than an Aboriginal like elder, and they would be like, "Holy shit, Prince
To
is
be playing
amazing."
Purple Rain on a didgeridoo, could
Yeah,
you
and they
imagine
would be
that?
like, "Holy shit, you are amazing!" Like, yeah, exactly. He was just like that. He was just, I mean, but that's the thing that I'm glad we could say this, because the way I feel about Michael Jackson, I can still sit here and tell you about Prince being amazing as he is. And that's the same thing with comedy. Like when you get in this game, it's heartbreaking sometimes because there are some vicious, fucked up people that like as soon as you're funny, man, that's when they start being like. When I first got to the Comedy Store, everyone was nice to me until I went on stage and I killed it, and Mitzi Shore saw me, and she basically it's called being made, but you eventually become a paid regular. I'm not a paid regular there, but basically you get a pass to perform there. And uh, as soon as that happened, all the other comics that were, not all of them, just the ones that were at the same level I was, they started. It was like high school. It was like Cold Shoulder. I heard rumors. So there was a story of there was 3 guys in the kitchen. I'll leave names out of it because I don't want to start any shit. But there was 3 guys in the kitchen, and they were standing around talking about how Cory get made. And um, a very famous comedian who hosts there all the time, uh, was standing back there, and he goes, "Shut the fuck up. He's funnier than all 3 of you put together." And the producer was back there, and he told me this story, and he's not a liar. He's like and it just made me feel good because I was pretty close with the producer of the comedy. He was like a talent manager of the Comedy Store at the time. He's not there anymore, but he could see that I was um, it was hard. It was hard because I thought like I was doing so well, but people were so, you know, vitriol. I mean, they're like it was like comics. The weird thing with comics, and sure, I'm sure you can attest to this, is there's two types of comics. There's a lot of times the comics that make it, the ones that make it, they don't have anything to fear from you. Like when I open for Nick
Yeah.
Swartzen or like any big like Bobby Lee, they've made it. I'm not a threat to them, you know. But when it's a really hard thing that when comics like if I see a funny comedian that's like young and they're up and coming, I'm like, oh, I see what he did there. Oh, that's great. But I might not be falling out of my seat laughing. Like, but that doesn't mean I don't think it's funny. I'm just more like, oh,
Yeah.
I see what he did. But
Mm-hmm.
there are the other kind of comedians that are just like if they think like this is true. I already have a lot of black friends. My best friend's black. I'm not just saying that like a lot of white people to sound cool.
Sure, yes, sure,
Yeah,
yes.
no, it's funny. It's funny. I actually have a joke about like people that like use it as like a cool card. Like, okay, if you know what cocoa butter is and you know that you have to like keep combing your hair to get waves, then you have black friends. Like, because I grew up like in black households where I know every cabinet has cocoa butter because it's an old remedy that like anyways my point is
Yeah.
that I the reason why I feel like I click with black comics is because there's almost like, well, we're not going to be in competition for the same type of roles, like because I don't talk about what it's like being a black comic, and a lot of black
That is
comics
true.
will talk about like growing up in the hood, or not saying all black people grow up in the hood, but they have different experiences, like with cops or with. That's why it drives me crazy when I hear right wing Republicans act like there's no racism or that black people or Black Lives Matter. What about White Lives Matter? It's like, look, dude, you don't know the systemic racism, and I'm not trying to go off on some
I
diatribe about.
actually saw something that made perfect sense for the people who don't understand the Black Lives Matter thing. It was a little cartoon strip. It was like it started out the two people talking. Yeah, I think all lives matter. I was like, this guy's like, yeah, all lives do matter, but here, all houses matter. All right, here's a house, and then the house next to it's on fire.
Right,
Okay, the house that all houses do matter, but the one that's not burning doesn't need to be focused on right
right.
now. So that like made it completely clear to me too, because I'll admit, maybe the first time I heard it, I was like, okay, yeah, I think all lives matter, dude. I wasn't trying to be like ignorant or like kind of, a dick about it, but I was like not seeing it
Well,
for what it
well,
was.
Aaron, and to go with your same point, I saw like some meme. It was like saying all dogs matter doesn't mean all cats don't matter. It's just saying, look, or like I own a pit bull. I'm a huge I love pit bulls. I feel like pit bulls are they're like they have like the systemic racism of dogs. When I walk around with my pit bull, I got her registered as an emotional sport, so I fly with her. And when I walked her through LAX, it was hilarious because there's me walking through, and I'm a comedian and I'm a people watcher, and I like pissing people off sometimes, but I love also seeing their visceral reaction to something like that, like
Okay.
a pit bull walking through LAX. And my whole point about that is that these dogs, it doesn't mean like I'm all about rescuing pit bulls and getting people to understand there's no such thing as a bad dog. There's just bad owners that teach them to fight. Okay, well,
Exactly.
my whole point
Exactly.
with the Black Lives Matter is there it's for it's like it's they're fighting because of the injustices that they face. I mean, it's impossible for people. It blows my mind the arguments that some of these people like actually believe, because it's like you don't know what it's like being like I don't. But here's the story. I walked into a Target with my best friend who's black. And as we were walking in, we were just doing our shopping, we were talking, and then we all of a sudden hear aisle something, and then then there's like a security. He like basically followed us throughout the whole store, and like me being white and my best friend Danny being who he is just used to it, and like I was like pissed, like I'm gonna write my senator, shit white people say, like like a black person would never be like I'm gonna write my senator, like they're gonna be like no man, like this happens to me all the time. And the Freakonomics had that great, it was a great book, but they had that thing that if there was a and I just saw, I think it was on Daily Show or whatever, but if there was a Cory Polster, well, I don't know, that might sound like a black name to some people, but like if there was like a Tom Jones resume and then like a Jamal Jenkins, and they were the same resume, same school, everything, 99% of the time, if the Tom Jones got picked.
Yeah.
You're telling me that like, everyone has the same opportunity? No, they don't. And that's, I mean, I know we're getting pretty deep here, but the truth of the matter is it really, like with comedy especially, and this is one thing, people listen to comedians. We're the last people to get a microphone, and people listen to us, radio for sure. But
Yeah.
but radio isn't always funny. So what I get to say is, and people on radio do too. If it's like a funny a podcast or radio or whatever, we get to say things like, I can walk on stage in front of a full crowd and be like, I fucking hate you. I hate all of you. And they'll just start laughing. And I could mean it, like I fucking hate every single one of you. I want to punch you in your face. No politician can do it. No musician. No one can do that except
Actually,
comedians. Yeah,
metal bands,
right,
they can do that.
but
They can go up and just degrade the audience and they cheer.
right, but they're masochists.
But I get your point. I just had to be devil's advocate
no,
for a second.
And let me be devil's advocate to that. First of all, they're masochists, but second of all, nobody's gonna listen to their political views. Like even if you had like one of my favorite bands of all time, and I can't remember the name, Rage Against the Machine. They would do, but I mean, come on, dude, I didn't listen to like their political views. I was like, I was fucking jamming out, went
Killing in the name of,
and yeah, exactly, killing in the name of. I mean, by the way, can we talk about the greatest combination band ever is the singer from Soundgarden and the band from Rage Against the Machine becoming Audio Slave? That was like that's like the most creative genius thing I'd ever, because that shit was amazing. Like I always try to think in my head like what other like lead singer and then like band, because you can't really do it with hip hop, like because you could always say, oh, what if you had Kanye, but then you had him produce Eminem's album. Well, he produced a song or two, so it doesn't work the same with hip hop. But like I've it's funny. This is something I want to talk to you about, by the way, Aaron, and I hope you're with me on this. I don't know.
All right, let's hear it. What's on your mind?
Okay, so me and my buddies, or me and my buddy Adriel, the same one that's a Prince fan, and I'm an MJ fan. We used to have this discussion that, like, this was back in the day when, right after Ben Affleck and Matt Damon won their Academy Award for Good Will Hunting. Yes, and we used to have this discussion that, like, we felt like Matt Damon probably wrote that movie and Ben Affleck typed it. And because all the movies Matt Damon did after that were fucking unreal. They were all good, like from Bourne movies to even his shitty movies that you thought were gonna be shitty, like the one directed by De Niro, was a good movie. And then you had Ben Affleck that was doing Reindeer Games in Hollywoodland. And so we were like, okay, so I bet since their best friend Ben Affleck like typed it while Matt was making up all these great ideas, and he had the lead, part in it. But then all of a sudden, Ben Affleck started writing, directing his own movies with The Town, amazing. Gone Baby Gone, amazing. Argo, he won Academy Award. I really liked it. I actually liked the other two better. Um, and I actually didn't hate him in Batman. I didn't like the Batman movie, but I thought he was a pretty badass Batman. He looked like a dope
I have not seen that yet. One thing I will say about Bat Affleck is
Affleck.
Bat Affleck is he has the Batman chin.
He has the chin, dude, and he
And
totally
that's 99% of it.
And Henry Cavill or whatever as Superman, like he's not exactly the greatest actor in the world, but like he is Superman. He's like 6'5". See, that's the problem what people don't realize, and I'm gonna nerd out here. Is Superman was 6'5". Because he was an alien. I could be wrong. Henry Cavill might only be like 6'1" or 6'2". But that's why I love when they originally cast Christopher Reeves. Christopher Reeves was like 6'5", and in the comics he's 6'5". Like he was a big dude, and that's why he would hump over or whatever. But my whole point, going back to to that movie, is you should wait for it to come out. You can come over and watch popcorn and we'll cuddle on the couch. But it's not that.
All right,
It's
call Big Spoon.
A little spoon in the spoon drawer. I love it. I'm good. But his role, it's a fucking action. I mean, it's not like Argo or something like that where it's like you're playing I'm gonna kill you. Like, come on. People can hate the director for not writing a good movie, but people love tearing Ben Affleck down. And I used to have this joke where I would be like, fucking me or having sex with me is like a Ben Affleck movie. It's long, it's boring, and the whole time you wish it was Matt Damon. But it doesn't work anymore because Matt Damon's actually good now and he's making better movies than Matt Damon. I mean, we bought a zoo. He was don't get me wrong, The Martian and the new Bourne movie, he might be back to his old roots, but for a while there, he was doing like Promised Land. He was doing a lot of like, oh, I want to change the world movies. Like, come on, dude, kick some ass. But I
hear you.
I think we need to lay off Ben Affleck a little bit. I think he's had a hard life. I mean, Jennifer Lopez, and he's,
that's gotta be traumatic right there. But
yeah,
let's get back to you a little bit.
Yeah, you're right.
You mentioned earlier your first show. You said you had a big story.
By the way, my favorite subject is me.
Well, right on. Let's talk about it. Damn it. That's why you're on the show.
Yes.
I'm sure Ben Affleck appreciates your campaign to have people get off of his back and shit. But what happened with your first show? How did that pan out?
Okay, so this is a pretty fun story to tell. And this is actually really fun. I want to do these weekly. This is better than therapy, by the way. Very, very few times do I get to just sit there, and because most people in my life know me, so they were either there, and the thing is with comedians, we all use hyperbole. So it's the worst when you're sitting there and your buddy was with you and you add a little bit of extra something. They're like, no, I was standing next to you. You didn't rob the bank, dude. Yeah, you held the door open for a lady, but don't act like you fucking robbed a bank and then blew. Yeah,
and then you asked for a roll of quarters.
Right, exactly. Come on, but still, a good storyteller, you need to have a little hyperbole, and I think most people know that and they appreciate it. But what I'm about to tell you is 100% truth. There is no hyperbole here. This is what happened. And I don't want to build it up. It's not. It's just. It's a horror. If you're a comedian or if you've ever been on stage of any kind, this is the worst thing that could happen. Okay,
all right, let's hear it.
I am 17 years old. I'm in high school. And I go to school with. There was an actor. His name was Tim Busfield. He was in 30 something. He's an Emmy award-winning actor. Well, his son was my best friend. That's really just a small part of the story, only because his dad owned a theater in Sacramento. And this theater was called B Street Theater. And I was in high school and I did we hosted the talent show, and I was like Dr. Evil. And I got a taste I was always I remember the first day of class. I went to a very strict Catholic school, but it was a college prep school. So you choose your classes, and I don't know if they do that in public school. It's probably the same thing, but anyways, but I when I would walk into class, basically what would happen is people would like get stoked, and you would see people celebrate. Like, yes, Cory's here. He's gonna fuck around all semester, and we're gonna have a good time in this class. And and I actually got good grades only because I had some amazing teachers, but it was not easy because I have ADD, like ADHD, and my parents refused to put me on medication because they're good people. Not to say that if you put your kids on medication, you're gonna notice I ramble too because I'm ADD. So, anyways, so in high school, everyone, anyways, Willie Busfield was his name. He was like, dude, you're so
Okay.
funny. My dad, is an actor. He won an Emmy Award. You're like funnier than any of the actors I've ever been around. And I used to hang around sets when he was on movies. So he was basically like, dude, you should become a comedian. Like, you should do comedy. And then so we had to do a book report, and I read a book on Richard Pryor, Prior Convictions, and I remember reading the book, and it had Richard Pryor knew when he wanted to become a comedian because he was running across the lawn and he slipped in some shit, and everyone on the front porch started laughing. And he loved that feeling of laughter so much that he got up, ran back, and did it again. He slipped through this again because and when I read that, I knew what he was talking about. I didn't care how much trouble I would get into in class. I would get sent to the principal's office, but I mean, making people laugh was. Can honestly tell you, I felt like what I was put on this earth to do. I'm I'm not a bad looking dude, but I'm definitely not a supermodel. And like I can promise you that most of the girls I've ever gotten, it was because I was funny. Like it's never been because I had abs or I'm 6'5" or even my face is
Yeah.
cute. It's like I had to develop a personality where my tits should be. You know what I mean? Like, well, I guess that analogy doesn't work because I guess
Yeah, you probably
I,
shouldn't have tits.
yeah, yeah. Well, I had to develop a personality where my pretty face would be, but tits
Okay,
sounded
there you
funnier.
go.
But
That would. And if you, yeah, we'll roll with it. We'll roll with
okay.
it.
We'll roll with it. Okay, so getting into it, basically what happened is Willie basically said, you know, you should try comedy, and I was like, okay. And so he was doing these 3-act plays, and the 3-act plays were basically what I was going to do was I was going to come out, do comedy, introduce a play, come out, do comedy, introduce a play. Or they were 1-act plays, so there wasn't 3 acts, but there was like 3 or 4 plays. And
Okay.
and now, mind you, I had never done stand up in my life. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to do like 3 minutes at an open mic, and
Yeah.
then when you get that funny, you add more time, right?
Yes.
And
Yes. That's the goal anyway.
so that's the goal, right? And then so when that's funny, you have 3, and then you have 6 minutes, and then you have 9 minutes, and then after that, I'm not good at math, like I said. So so basically, what happened was I invited everyone. I mean, this is high school. Word got around. I was excited. Cory Polster is gonna do comedy. This is this was like, like tell everyone you. So, but here's the other thing. And you have to remember, it was a theater, not a comedy club. And I'd never done comedy. And I didn't think, oh, I should probably go to a comedy club and try out some of this stuff first. So the very first time I did comedy, I just wrote like 45 minutes and showed up.
Oh
And
wow.
okay, so but here's the thing. So this theater was like it was like a theater in the round. So half the people there, like 100 people there, was my friends, family, like everyone I knew in high school, but mainly my family. My mom was in the front row. The other half were like thespians and theater goers and people that wanted to see these three act plays. So there's like 250 people, in there. And I still remember it to this day. It's filmed, and I've never watched it. But I'm wearing a velour. I'm wearing a velour suit, and it's starting to hit me. Like I'm about to try to make 250 people laugh for the next 45 minutes, and I've never done stand up a day in my life. But the adrenaline hits you, and you're like, ah, fuck it. So I go out there, and I'm doing great at first. I think I stole some jokes on accident. Like now, as a comedian, I always like watch a lot of comedy and make sure that I'm not taking from someone else. Because if you see a lot of
Yeah.
comedy, sometimes you don't know, like, oh shit, I didn't think of that.
You
Like
subconsciously hear
right.
something and it pops into your head while you're on stage, even.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like they used to call Robin Williams Robin, but the difference between Robin Williams and someone like Carlos Mencia is Robin Williams, if he found out that he took somebody's joke, he would send them like a couple $1,000s with an apology letter. I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but like if he found out, like it was a lot different than Carlos Mencia, who just blatantly takes up and coming
Yeah.
comics. And that's the worst, because if you think about it, you're up and coming, you have this amazing joke that take you to the next level, and then this guy comes along and says it. So then now every time you tell that joke, they're like, dude, he stole that from Carlos Mencia. And it's like, no, I remember writing that in my room at 3 a.m. Like I put my fucking blood, sweat, and tears in this joke, and now it's forever this asshole's. That's why I have a big problem with people who steal jokes. Anyways, back
Yeah.
to the main story. So I'm on stage, and you have to remember I am 17, 18 years old. All I have to talk about is sex and drinking, but I didn't have life experience. So and
Yes.
that's where comedy's different. If you're a musician or an athlete and you don't make it by 25, it is really hard. But a comedian, by the time you hit 30 or 40, that's when you're like, you've lived enough life that you could talk about anything. And the more life experience you have, the funnier you are. So that's the difference there. Like, you don't see a lot of old rappers break out. You see old rappers, but they've been around forever. So, anyways,
Yeah.
story's drawing to an end, by the way. So I know I keep rambling here. But so basically, what happened is I'm on stage, I'm being pretty filthy because I'm a 17-year-old kid. I don't, I'm talking like, okay, so I'll give you an example. I'm like ashamed of this joke because I've learned so much since I've been doing comedy so long. First of all, women control the crowd. So one of like my first, like these jokes that I said is like, you're immediately going to lose the crowd if you say some shit like this. But I went on stage, and it's not original. But I go, you know why guys like getting blowjobs? Because women can't talk with a dick in their mouth. And okay, so
Yeah, probably not a good way to open the show unless you're known for being like Dice Clay.
mind you, well, it was like 5, 10 minutes in. So still not like, if you're gonna get dirty, what you do is you get people to like you, and then you can offend the shit out of them. That's what Louis C.K. does. Louis C.K. will tell you his jokes, but then at the end he'll like talk about his the filthiest things ever, but you're like, but he made me laugh for the last 45 minutes, so fuck it. Anyways,
Right on, right on. So
I'm
how'd the
not.
joke go over this time?
Okay, so this is where it gets really bad. So I'm just getting into it. I say, it's important that I repeat this. So I go, guys, like why we like getting blowjobs, because women can't talk with a dick in their mouth. And right when I say that, a woman stands up with her baby. She had a baby, a newborn baby. Like I said, no hyperbole, no exaggeration. And she goes, "That's it. This is disgusting. I can't sit through this anymore." And I go, "See, this is what I'm talking about. Someone put a dick in her mouth." And then half the crowd that knew me lost it. The other half of the crowd like stood up, and so basically the crowd starts yelling. I'm standing on stage with a microphone, and they're let him finish. Shut the fuck up. Okay. Like they're fighting, like they're
Oh,
yelling at each
wow.
other. So there's just 250 people. Half of them are on my side. The other half are these thespian goers that are like, he's disgusting. And the woman's like, baby's crying, and her husband stands up. He's like shaking his fist like he's gonna kick my ass. But like it was like a nightmare. And I just dropped the mic and I went backstage, and there was a bottle of Jack Daniels. And I grabbed the Jack Daniels and I took a fat swig, and I just remember like going like, "Oh my God, this is the end of my career." Like, what what the fuck just happened? Like, I just think I got these were jokes. But what I realize now is in a comedy club you could probably even get away with it because people are a lot of those people weren't expecting that, they weren't at a comedy show. They were at a 3-act play show who just happened to have this guy who was gonna tell some jokes, like Don Rickles type jokes, like, like,
Yeah.
oh, my wife's so ugly when she walks in the room, the mice jump on chairs, like stuff like that. Not like, hey, put a dick in her mouth jokes. So they're fighting.
Yeah.
I go in the back. So the original crowd leaves except for my friends, and then I'm backstage and I hear my mother to this day. She goes, "Core, come back out. You're hilarious. Come finish." So I go. I mean, where
Gotta
was I gonna
love
go? Where was
mothers
I
at
gonna go?
comedy shows.
Yeah, totally. So I go back out, grab the microphone, and I finish the jokes that I had, and bring out the play. But then people just started leaving because the plays were horrible. And the shittiest part was Willie, the one that gave me the break. It kind of fucked up our friendship because somebody said that, like, because I was scheduled for 2 nights, but the second night people showed up and they were like, "Hey, is Cory hosting again?" And as soon he's like, "No," because he made the right decision because people were there,
Yeah.
but they turned around, so they had to cancel the second night because the only people that showed up wanted to hear this this young comedian basically like destroy people and say disgusting Dice Clayish stuff. But I mean, and by the way, I think the only thing that might be a little bit of embellishment is how horrible I was because it's just the people that were there for me knew me and they were ready to hear this stuff. The people that
Yes.
were there to see plays and they had maybe their like a baby with them and it's not like I just went up there and I was like said the filthiest words possible. I had some actual jokes. I spent a lot of time writing this material and so basically, so this is what happened. So I get done with the show, and I mean, I'm mortified. I don't know. I have to see these people at school, um, and high school kids aren't good at like hiding. Like if like you would know, but it like got around like that. I was hilarious. Like, dude, you should have been there. Like, crowd was like it was almost like an epic story to them. But I didn't. But you gotta understand this show was on a Friday, and so all weekend I was like, I didn't know, and my friends are my friends. They're like, no, dude, you were great. Like they have to say that. So what I decided was, I was like, I'm going to a place called Laughs Unlimited. It's in Old Sacramento. It's called Old Sac. That was one of the first jokes. Wow, you're from a place called Old Sac. Um, um, and Old Sacramento, they had this comedy club, and on Wednesdays they had this really nice guy, Del Van Dyke. And I started taking a class with him, and 6 months later, I won a competition, and then I just kind of like because it was such a horrifying experience that I was like, I have to be better than this. I had to prove that I was funnier than that show and in the horrifying experience I went through. So I just started going to open mics and doing 3 minutes and 5 minutes and until, somebody saw me and was like, "Hey, open for me, do 5 minutes or, do this show." And I took classes so that I could get to know other comics because 90% of your gigs come from other comics when you're starting
Yeah.
out. And then so then after 2 years, that's when I was tearing shit up, so to speak. And I was like, I'm going to Los Angeles. And like I said, that was not easy because I think my family's a little bit happier about it now because, they, well, I mean, they still kind of used my college money to finance me coming down here, but still, but
You went to a different kind of school. You didn't
exactly,
necessarily go to a university where you might not actually use the degree. So,
exactly.
that's not bad. That's not, hopefully they see that the investment was good for them or good for you anyway. And my next question for you though is who were your influences as far as comedically growing up?
Um, that's easy. Um, Eddie Murphy easily when I saw Raw. I mean, who? The moonwalk is the dumbest dance ever. Hey, baby, want to dance? Okay, see you later. like, like is genius. And then, but I'll be honest with you, by the time I was like ready to understand what comedy was and like start reading about it and reading about these heroes of mine like Richard Pryor and it was Chappelle Killing Him Softly. I watched that and I was like, holy shit. Like,
That
how
is a
does a
great
man,
special.
I mean, from beginning to end, there's like, I've watched specials where I'm like, 60% of it is funny. And it's funny enough to be like, oh, yeah, that was pretty funny. But then, sometimes you're just like, there's some lulls, but it's still, it's like, it's funny enough that you could like repeat, there was quotable things. But Dave Chappelle from beginning to end, like, and in the way, like, one of the things about comedy that I love is that you have an ability to change people's minds because if I wanted to talk to you about systemic racism or guns, you're on the right or something, you're gonna put your guard up like, all right, I gotta I gotta start defending Trump here, I gotta like but if you're at a comedy show and I make like I forget his name, he just did a great bit about the same thing, like where he talks about like because he's from Australia.
Jim
Yeah, he did
Jeffries.
the whole gun joke, and it was dead on. But Chappelle did the same thing where he talked about Monica Lewinsky, and I remember this was like 2001 or what. So this was fairly new when it was like 4 or 5, 6 years old when it happened. And Chappelle goes, "Ladies, how do you feel about Monica Lewinsky?" And every woman in the crowd booed. Every woman booed, and he goes, "Oh, come on. Every woman in this crowd has some dick they're not proud of. And it wasn't the president of the United States. It was probably some nigga that works at Kenny Shoes or something. You all have skeletons in your closet." And it was like, listening to it was like, he's so right. Like, every woman in that crowd is judging this poor woman, but the most powerful man in the world who has game, I'm sure. I mean, he's Bill Clinton, like he shakes babies and or kisses babies. Like he was. People have said he's a
Shaking
very
babies is
like
not good. Shaking babies is not good.
yes, yes. He's a baby shaker, a baby maker.
Come
Yeah,
here, little
but
baby. Let
like,
me shake you.
hey, come here, let me shake you up. But there's stories that he's just, he's got charm, and yeah, if you look at him and but look at rock stars, man. Like, you're telling me John Mayer is like gets vagina because of his good looks? No, it's because your body is a wonderland. Oh shit, and the panties drop. But he's like, talent
That
is
was a
sexy, man.
perfect
Talent.
impersonation. That was a perfect impersonation.
Your body's. I wanna run through the halls of my high school. Yeah, but like, no, it's like, talent is sexy, man. Talent is the sexiest thing in the world, and whether that talent is being like if you look at anybody that I'm talking like, talent sometimes gets it gets put into this corner of like a musician or artist or entertainer. But if you're a talented doctor, a talented politician, if you're good at what you do, it's sexy, man. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Alicia Keys. And same thing with what's her name? The chick that sings "Hello," fucking Adele.
Adele,
Tell me,
okay.
tell me the reason why I bring this up is because I was at a concert and there was a female there that was like kind of cute. She wasn't like, as soon as she started the instrument, she became a 10 because you were like, oh my God, that is so hot. Like the fact that you're not just like
Yeah.
walking around in heels crying like, oh my God, they made my costume all fucked up. Ew. I tanned wrong. Like, like like this, it's funny. My favorite place in the world is Santa Cruz because like you'll see a woman there. She'll have her hair up. She'll have glasses. She'll be reading like Herman Hesse, Siddhartha, but she'll be a knockout. And she'll be like on her break from like Whole Foods or whatever, fucking hipster place and that they have there. But it's like I love it because it's like you can actually have conversations with these women. We're in Hollywood. Don't get me wrong, there are some amazing, amazing women here that aren't like that, but it's pretty true when you get down to it about like, it's like, people become friends with their friends because it's who they know and do we look good in this picture together? Like, I couldn't imagine doing that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, me neither. Where were you going with the Alicia Keys and Adele thing, though? Let's hop back
but
on that.
Alicia Keys and Adele, are they not that much more beautiful because of their skill? That
Yes,
was where
and
I'm going.
okay, yeah, I can
But
definitely see
you
that.
gotta understand Beyonce, all the regular artists that are like have perfect bodies, and but Alicia Keys and Adele are they're bigger women. They're not, and they don't use their sexuality as much, but they're still sexy. That was just my point, is that they don't
Okay,
have the
Alicia.
bodies that a lot of these women do.
Okay, all right, Alicia Keys, though. Um, you know who she reminds me of, or what she reminds me of. Looney Tunes. There's Bugs Bunny, and then the female rabbit, Babs Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
She
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of the female, like Babs Bunny, like Bugs Bunny's girlfriend.
Like the
It's
Daisy
like I
Duck.
think it's the ears or like something about her face just reminds me of that. I don't know.
That's funny. You know what's funny? I mean, she's a beautiful woman. Like it's
She is. I'm not knocking her. I'm just
no,
saying
you
she
are. If you saw her and you went up to her and said, "You look like fucking bitchy bunny" or whatever the name of her,
not bitchy
I know,
bunny.
I know, I know, I know. But whatever her name was, Barbara Bunny or whatever, Barbara
I think it's like Babs Bunny or
Babs.
something like
Yeah,
that. I don't know. I'm Babs. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no. I'm honestly I say that with like the kindest heart. I don't know. Maybe I like cartoons a little too much, but
No, dude, there's nothing wrong.
but
There's nothing like you didn't say you didn't like her. You just said she reminded. But there are people. It's funny. Like I wish I could send you. I wish people could see like when you know how friends try to find doppelgangers of their other friends that are celebrities. I found the perfect one for myself, and it's basically if Ryan Felipe and Luis Guzman had a baby. And if you like, if you see a picture of me and then you put those two pictures next to each other, you're gonna laugh because it's so
I am
funny.
looking at your picture on Skype right now, actually, and I can kind of see it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but if you put the Ryan Felipe when I was younger, I'm definitely more Luis Guzman now because I have the overlapping forehead thing going. Like my friends call me DJ Caveman. Some people have the like I don't know what's called a bridged nose, where my forehead kind of hides my eyes.
Okay, all right. I can't quite tell in this picture, but um, I'll have to investigate here. So,
Yeah, that's right.
um, we were talking earlier, and you mentioned something about comedy affecting like your relationships
Yes,
in
yes,
life.
absolutely.
You want to go into that a little bit?
No, yes, of course I do.
All right, fine. No, you don't have to talk about it. We can
No, I do.
we
I
can
think
talk about sloping foreheads.
slow. You're so right, man. Like, yeah, I'm glad you're good at this because I am Mr. Tangent. Like, you'll ask me about comedy, and then I'll start talking about Alicia Keys playing an instrument, like, and it makes it sexy. But okay, as far as that goes, first of all, you have to understand as a comedian, it's not just the road thing. It's you're sharing your life on stage. So if there's something that your girlfriend does that's super funny, and you when you're in okay, have you ever seen these chicks that basically they'll have a conversation with somebody and then they'll take a screenshot and post it online. I
Yes,
am
I've seen those
so
posts.
against that because I feel like there's this unwritten contract when you're talking to somebody. Um, unless you're like on Tinder and you're like, "Hey, baby, you want a bone?" and you're just being gross. And like, but if you're like with somebody,
Gross. That's my pickup line.
right, right. But like, like if you're talking to a friend or something and I'm not talking about something sweet or something that people would like. I'm talking about something that would demonize because it takes it out of context. Like if you're dating a girl and it said like, "Well, you're being a bitch." But before, like her whole sentence was like, "You're a dick," and just all these mean things. But she posts the one part where you're like, "You're being a bitch," and so all her friends gang up on you. My whole point with that is like with comedy, it's inauthentic if you don't talk about the things that happen. So in relationships, um, like what I do personally is because I'm single now. I just basically talk about like I basically if I talk about dating, if I talk about like a certain girl, I make like it might be like 8 different girls this thing came from, but I talk about it like it's one.
Okay,
Because it
make
would
it a
be
little less
yeah, because it would be
less
too
confusing.
hard to be like, oh no, not the girl before, but the one before that, like not the one, unless it was prudent to the joke that I had to be like, oh yeah, the time that when I was with the deaf girl, or and I had to point out that, but like for the most part, I make it like this fake chick that's basically a combination of all the crazy things that the like the chicks I've dated or done or gone through. But as far as it actually affecting relationships, like I was engaged, I was with a girl who I loved, and I was with her. We lived together for 6 years. And I loved this girl more than anything on this planet, as far as human beings go. But she was about to turn 30, and she wanted kids and she wanted a house. And basically, she was like, "Look, you're I respect your dream, but my dream is to have kids and family, and I knew that I couldn't do those things. I couldn't um, get a day job and not do comedy. Basically, it was me or comedy without it being like the ultimatum like that, but that's what it would have been, because there's no way you can be a comedian like and you can be a comedian, but it's not you can't do it like once or twice a month and ever go anywhere.
Yeah, you
You
can't
know,
do it as a career and have.
Exactly. You can do it like, oh yeah, it's fun, like, and I'll go do this open mic. But if you want to make you want to get to that next level and you want to make the world laugh, which I would love to make the world laugh. I don't want to do it for money or fame. I just love walking into a room and there's 500 people and they're like, oh fuck, my car got stolen or I lost my job, but Cory said that one thing about fucking Russians being the craziest motherfuckers ever. And for that one moment they're like it alleviates whatever they're going through. You know what I mean? And like where else do you need each other? Like comics need a crowd. There's
Yes.
not a lot of there's not a lot of other professions where you need the crowd. Like you're gonna go. I mean, for music or radio, but like you can go record, your album or demo by yourself. You can go, but you can't, go into a studio and record a comedy album. Like, and I'm not talking about like Adam Sandler, like where it's like improv-ish comedy. I'm talking about like actual stand-up, and then put
An
a
actual
laugh
set.
track. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's why every single one since the beginning of time has been filmed. You can listen to it, but you always hear the live laughter.
Yeah.
But I guess my whole point was that it really hurt, and I love this girl, and I couldn't give up this. I loved it too much. I love making people laugh, and when it came down to it, she made her choice and I made mine, and I don't regret mine because I love making people laugh, and it's probably one of the only things I'm good at. I think I had a chance to talk to you before, and I told you I am more comfortable on stage than I am at a dinner party. Like,
Yeah, yeah, you mentioned that.
yeah, it's weird. Like if I'm in a grocery store in line, like I have to have my earbuds in. Like I don't feel like the government is chasing me. I just get really, but it's weird. I don't mind if I'm on stage and there's 300 people looking at me, judging me with a microphone, because I know what I'm there to do. And you learn the most. Like, this is for all the people who are thinking about being comedians. If you think you're just going to go up there and you're going to read some books or take some classes and you think you're just the funniest person ever, um, it just doesn't work like that. You might go up there the first couple times and do pretty well, but they might even introduce you as like, oh, this person's new, and they might cut you a break or whatever. But it's not going to
Yeah.
last. You need to keep going on stage, and you need to hone those skills. But my point is that I've always learned the most from bombing. So those times where you murder, I'm like walking on fucking sunshine. Like, yeah, I just killed, but I didn't learn anything. Not saying I looked a bomb, because I love killing. And to be honest, it's not like I bomb really anymore, but there are times where certain jokes don't work. And those are the times where I go home and am, I pull out my notes and I listen to what I recorded, and I go over and I try to make it the best it can be, because if it just murders, then you can't get any better than best.
Right on. That's
Yeah,
that's interesting, man.
yeah. You need to be on stage to learn how to do it.
All right, that actually almost kind of answers my next question, but we got to kind of start wrapping things up. We're close to that hour now.
Okay.
What other advice that you have for
Yeah,
upcoming comedians
sure,
that you could give real quick?
sure. Number one, hang out at the comedy club. Always hang out at the comedy, even if you're not performing. But if you are there and they ask you, because you need to introduce yourself to the management. You need to introduce yourself to whoever is the talent person there, and they need to see that you're there. And what they're going to do is they're going to test you. They're not going to throw you up. They're gonna see if like you're going to show up 2 or 3 times and be like, screw these people. They're not going to put me up. They want to know how bad you want it. Two,
Okay.
don't don't try to learn to do comedy at the major comedy clubs. Go to an open mic, go to, and then work your way up, and then get a good 15 minutes. And then make sure when you like, and when I say a good 15 minutes, I mean like you're only ever gonna get like 3, sometimes 7 to prove yourself. But don't ever turn down a mic. And one of the most important things is do bringer shows. I know it sucks. You'll hear comedians talk so much shit about bringer shows. You know what I
For
did?
those of you who don't know,
Oh, yeah.
for those people who don't know what a bringer show is, you want to explain that just a little bit?
Yeah, a bringer show is basically they allow you a certain amount of stage if you invite people. And so you have to sell tickets. Like they do it at like the whiskey. They do it for bands too. Like basically you have to sell like these $10 tickets, and you have to sell a certain amount, and then when your people come, like if you only had 2 people come, you'll go at the end of the night. If you had 20 people come, you get the prime spot when everyone's liquored up and they're ready to laugh. The point I'm making about bringer shows that is so important is that when I first got here, if I was in Sacramento or San Francisco, I could have brought up people all the time, but I instead of like spending my money on alcohol or whatever, I would pay for my own. I would like so let's say you get 10 bringer tickets, and they're $10
Okay.
each, so that's $100. I would buy them. I would spend $100 and then throw them in the trash, because once you hand them the $100, they write down Cory has 10 people here. So even if nobody, like, even like, I wouldn't just throw them in the trash. Like, I'd invite people, and if they were like, nah, I'd be like, hey, the ticket's free. because I tried to sell tickets and it's just too hard when you're starting out. Now I can get people to come to shows because I've been doing it long enough, and I don't do bringer shows. But when you're starting out, you're going to have to, especially in this city, New York, Chicago, places like that,
Yeah.
where you like Flappers, places out in Burbank that have like they're basically that's what they are. They're bringer shows. They want you to, because if the problem is people aren't going to go to a comedy show to see a bunch of people trying material out who are new. They're going to go see Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, but those guys aren't always at the comedy club, so they have to be open other nights. And so what a bringer show is basically it's where it allows like new people to be seen. That's like I got seen at a bringer show by Mitzi Shore,
Okay.
and it was by accident because the host got double booked and they called me last minute. So my advice here is just if you are doing a bringer show, like I don't if you it depends how bad you want it. You hear people sleeping in their cars and stuff. Yes, I spent $100 on tickets. So every time I did a bringer show, it looked like I had 10 people there and I got a prime spot. But because of that, it looked like
Nice.
I always had people there and I always got a good spot and I always murdered it when I was put up. Because the worst thing is when you don't have anyone there and everyone's gone from the crowd. You go up at midnight and there's three people in the crowd that are drunk, and then you just don't know if your material works or not.
Yeah, I
So,
agree. And plus, it's always harder to get a vibe off of three people than say
oh,
50 people to 100 people. And I prefer a packed room over a
laughter's
dead
contagious.
room.
That's why laughter's contagious, and I was reading. It's a psychology thing. That a new comic when they get on stage and like they cover their eyes because it's so bright. The reason why is you see the one person not laughing, you think you're bombing. The other thing is when people can see each other, they don't laugh like as much because they're self-conscious. But if you go to a place like the Comedy Store, it's completely dark. You got to love the waitresses. That's why you need to tip them because it's so dark. It's hard for them to move around, but people will laugh louder and with their whole body because
People can't see
oh,
them.
that guy can see me right there. You just kind of, yeah, you just kind of let go of like where you are and like, but people are self-conscious people and laughter is contagious. So the darker the room is, in the crowd, the more you'll let go. And
All right,
yeah,
all right. That makes complete sense, dude. Then human nature is weird.
yeah, it really is.
Where can people get a hold of you or get in contact with you? Got any social media out there,
I
websites?
do. I have CoryPolster.com, which is my name, which is CoryPolster.com. I'm the only Cory Polster, so if you type that into Google, that'll take you to my Facebook, my Instagram, and my Twitter. So, but also CoryPolster.com has links to those. I was talking to Aaron earlier. A last piece of advice is if you're a comedian, I wouldn't put everything on that you ever do on online because then people will come to your shows and they've seen and heard everything. You know what I mean? It's not like music where people want to hear Billie Jean when they go see Mike. Uh, People get pissed if people got pissed like when they went and saw Seinfeld, and he did the same act that he did a year earlier. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of I heard Chris Hardwick
yeah.
explain it like this. It's kind of like a magic trick. Once you see it, it's done.
Yes, that's a brilliant. Yeah, unless it's on like a DVD and you want to watch it again, like when you like I could watch Killing Him Softly because it's just so funny. But like or putting on a record and listening to Richard Pryor, that nigga's crazy or whatever. But I totally get that's a perfect point. Like it's because that's what a joke is. The punchline is a surprise. Now it could still be funny, but the surprise isn't there.
Yeah.
Like people. So I love that analogy, and it's so dead on. But yeah, that was my final point as far as finding me, yeah, my website. Well, that pretty much will link you to everything. Once again, that's Cory. Don't put any in my name. I don't know why people do. Polster. Um, yeah.
All right. All right, cool. I'll have that in the show notes as well, so people can click on that and find you and all your links to your other social media as well. I have one more question that I ask every guest that I have on the show.
Hmm.
How do you live uncontained?
How do I live uncontained? Well, um, I see I see people who I came from a place where people got married by the time they were 30. I've seen people who didn't chase their dream. I watched a lot of uh, I always say Tim Robbins, Tony Robbins, um, and what I've learned from anybody who's successful is that if you make your dreams ancillary, if you make them second important to house and kids and um, or anything, if you take away your passion, you become a robot, and it's sad to see. It's sad to see these, someone sitting in traffic, like, like listening to your podcast. No, no, but like really, like really, like, God, I wish I could do something like that. I wish I could do what Aaron's doing, or oh man, this guy Cory, like, oh, I want to see him. Like, I wish I had something like that. And I'm not. It's not like I feel pity. I don't know if that's the right word. I like it's because pity I think comes along the lines with like people that can't do something. If you're paralyzed and it's like, hey, run that marathon. Like, let's be honest, you can't run, and that's
Yeah.
not a joke. I'm being real. Like, if you're paralyzed, it's just something you can't do. But if there's something that you have a passion to do, don't like. How could you not? How could you live contained? It's almost it might seem funny, but I always knew that I wanted to make people laugh. So I and it's ruined my relationships, meaning like with women, because I had to choose it over them, and it's still hard to date girls because when I'm up at 5 in the morning writing, and I'm always the most creative between 2 and 5, or they feel like they have to share me with the crowd, or if I have to go to San Diego overnight and what girls are you talking to, or who's this girl on your social media, and there's a lot of different things that come with it. But you know what? I wouldn't change it for anything in the world, because there's nothing that compares to having what you love to do. There's nothing that compares to having like a crowd in the palm of your hands, laughing their asses off, and they love you for it. And that's where, like, if you're a musician and you're ripping that lick, or if you're on the radio and you're interview, like even like someone, like you watch someone like Rose, Charlie Rose. He's so
Yeah.
inquisitive. It's like he wants to know. He doesn't just do interviews with politicians. He does it with writers, and it's so actually, your show very much reminds me of a Charlie Rose, because he's so inquisitive, and he really really wants to know what like drives these people. So to answer your
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
without going on a tangent, I live my life uncontained because I can't I can't be a part of the rat race. I wouldn't make it, man. I'm a Catholic and I'm a lapsed Catholic, but there's no way I would. I say this like as hyperbole, but I would blow my brains out. Like, I couldn't. And there are some people that are happy. Like, I'm not saying like having a house and a family is a bad thing. Like, I don't
No,
want
of
people to
course
think
not.
that. But if you have that, paint, collect rocks. I don't know, but anything that brings joy to your life. Just
Have a
don't.
hobby.
Yeah, yes. Just don't live contained, like we just don't contain whatever it is that's inside you, unless you're a rapist or something. Contain that shit. We don't need that. Like, you know what I mean?
All
Like,
right, I agree with that
yeah.
on that. Yes, on that note, my friend, I have one more favor to ask of you here.
Absolutely.
I have my guest sign off the show.
Hmm.
Would you do me the favor of signing off the show for me today?
Okay, sounds good. My name's Cory Polster, and I live uncontained. And remember, God loves you, so do I. One love.
Thanks again to Cory Polster for coming on the show today. Had some great stories and some great tips, too. That whole buying your own tickets for the Bringer show and giving them away to guarantee that you'll have a crowd at the show. That's a game changer right there. I'd like to thank everybody who's been rating, reviewing, and subscribing to the show. It's been a big help, and if you haven't been doing it yet, what the hell are you waiting for? Go to iTunes, go to SoundCloud, go to whatever place you listen to your podcasts, and click the subscribe button, and leave a rating and review. That is... When you leave ratings and share, it's a huge boost to our visibility so others can find the show easier. Thank you for getting the word out, and until next time, live uncontained.